Have you ever felt that icy grip of betrayal, the kind that steals your breath and makes your world tilt on its axis? Imagine standing at the threshold of what should be a sanctuary, a place of warmth and belonging, only to have it transform into a stage for your deepest fears. It's a moment etched into your memory, a scar on your soul, when the people you believed were your foundation suddenly reveal themselves as the very architects of your pain. This isn't just a story about a holiday gone wrong. It's about the seismic shift that occurs when the illusion of family shatters, exposing raw truths and forcing an impossible choice. What would you do if the people who were supposed to love you unconditionally, the ones who shared your blood, turned their backs on the most innocent heart you held dear? How far would you go to protect that heart, even if it meant dismantling everything you once held sacred? Stay with me, because what unfolded that night wasn't just a confrontation. It was a reckoning, a testament to the unbreakable spirit forged in the fires of adversity, and a journey into the unexpected power of a mother's love. The crisp December air, usually a comforting embrace, felt like a shroud as I guided my daughter, Lily, through the ornate iron gates of my childhood home. Her small hand, usually so warm and confident in mine, was trembling slightly, a tiny barometer of the unspoken tension that always seemed to cling to this place like frost. It was Christmas Eve, a night meant for carols and cheer, but a familiar dread had already begun to coil in my stomach, a premonition that this year, the usual family drama might escalate into something far more chilling. Lily, with her bright, inquisitive eyes and a spirit as vibrant as the holiday lights twinkling around us, was oblivious to the undercurrents, her face alight with the simple joy of anticipation. She clutched a carefully wrapped gift, a handmade ornament she'd crafted with such meticulous care, intended for her grandmother, a woman whose affection was as unpredictable as a winter storm. I squeezed her hand, offering a silent prayer that tonight, just tonight, the fragile peace might hold, that the veneer of holiday goodwill wouldn't crack under the weight of old resentments and unspoken grievances. As we stepped into the grand foyer, the scent of pine and cinnamon, usually so evocative of cherished memories, was tainted by an almost imperceptible chill, a subtle shift in the atmosphere that only years of experience could detect. The living room, usually a bustling tableau of laughter and festive chatter, seemed to fall into an unnatural hush as my mother's gaze, sharp and unyielding, landed squarely on Lily. Her lips, usually painted a festive crimson for the holidays, tightened into a thin, disapproving line, a silent judgment that spoke volumes before a single word was uttered. My heart, already a drumbeat of anxiety, began to pound against my ribs, a frantic warning. I felt Lily instinctively press closer to my side, her small body a beacon of vulnerability against the looming shadow of my mother's disapproval. It was a familiar dance, one I had performed countless times since Lily's birth, a silent battle waged with glances and unspoken barbs. But tonight, something felt different, heavier, as if the very air was charged with an impending storm. Then, the words came, cutting through the festive music like shards of ice, delivered with a chilling precision that left no room for misinterpretation. Only children from proper families, those who understand their place, receive gifts in this house, my mother announced, her voice carrying across the room, ensuring every relative present was a witness to her pronouncement. Her eyes, cold and devoid of warmth, fixed on Lily, then flickered to me, a silent accusation. Your mistake can wait outside. The word hung in the air, a venomous dart aimed directly at my daughter's innocent heart. Lily's small hand, which had been clutching mine so tightly, began to tremble uncontrollably, and I saw the first glint of tears welling in her beautiful eyes, tears that mirrored the ones forming in my own. My father, usually a silent observer, stood behind my mother, a subtle nod of agreement, a silent endorsement of her cruelty, confirming that I stood alone against their united front. In that agonizing moment, the world around me seemed to fracture, the festive decorations blurring into an indistinct haze, the cheerful music fading into a distant hum. It was as if the very ground beneath my feet had turned to thin ice, threatening to give way at any moment. But amidst the shattering of my illusions, a strange calm descended upon me, a cold, resolute clarity. The years of quiet endurance, of biting my tongue and hoping for a change that never came, evaporated in an instant. This was no longer about me. It was about Lily, about protecting her fragile spirit from the corrosive venom of their judgment. With a voice that surprised even myself with its steadiness, I simply uttered, "Understood." It was a word laden with a weight they couldn't possibly comprehend, a quiet declaration of war. My fingers, though shaking slightly, moved with purpose as I retrieved my phone, the screen a small, glowing rectangle in the dimming light of the room. Lily, her face buried in the comforting folds of my winter coat, clung to me, her small sobs muffled against the fabric, a sound that tore at the very fabric of my being. The next 15 minutes stretched into an eternity, a suffocating silence punctuated only by the soft strains of Christmas carols playing incongruously in the background. The relatives, a sea of familiar faces, continued their holiday rituals, decorating the tree, sipping eggnog, their laughter and conversation resuming as if the cruel pronouncement had never occurred. It was a chilling display of complicity, a collective turning of the back that spoke volumes about their true allegiances. Lily and I remained frozen near the doorway, an island of isolation in a room teeming with supposed family. My brother, Michael, usually so boisterous and outgoing, meticulously avoided eye contact, his attention fixed with an almost desperate intensity on hanging ornaments with his wife, Sarah. My sister Clara chatted loudly about her recent vacation plans, her voice artificially bright, a desperate attempt to drown out the uncomfortable truth that hung heavy in the air. The sheer normalcy of their indifference, the casual cruelty of their collective dismissal, churned in my stomach, a bitter bile rising in my throat. Just as the suffocating silence threatened to consume me entirely, a sharp, decisive knock echoed through the house, a sound that seemed to reverberate through the very foundations of my resolve. It was a knock that signaled not just an arrival, but a turning point, a shift in the carefully constructed facade of their perfect holiday. The door swung open, revealing not another festive guest, but a man in a crisp blue uniform, a tablet clutched in his hand. His presence, so out of place amidst the twinkling lights and festive decor, immediately drew every eye in the room. He wasn't a carol singer, nor a delivery driver for a last-minute gift. His arrival heralded something far more significant, a disruption to their carefully orchestrated charade, a harbinger of the storm I had quietly, deliberately set in motion. The first domino had fallen, and the ripple effect was about to engulf them all, shattering their comfortable illusions and exposing the rot beneath the surface. The man in the blue uniform, his presence a stark contrast to the festive chaos, cleared his throat, his gaze sweeping across the stunned faces in the room. "I'm here to confirm the cancellation of the Sterling Estate renovation project," he stated, his voice calm and professional, yet carrying an undeniable weight. "The $4.5 million contract?" The words hung in the air, heavy and disorienting, shattering the last vestiges of forced cheer. My mother's champagne flute, poised delicately between her manicured fingers, slipped from her grasp, plummeting to the polished hardwood floor with a sharp, echoing crash. The sound seemed to reverberate through the sudden, absolute silence that enveloped the room, momentarily eclipsing even the soft Christmas music that had been playing. All eyes, now wide with a mixture of confusion and dawning horror, turned from the shattered glass to the man at the door, then to me, standing protectively with Lily still clinging to my side. The perfect, meticulously crafted illusion of their holiday, and indeed, their lives, had just begun to crack, revealing the fragile reality beneath. "What cancellation?" my father demanded, his voice a strained growl, pushing past bewildered relatives to confront the uniformed man. "What renovation?" He looked from the man to me, his eyes narrowing, searching for an explanation, a way to reassert control over a situation that was rapidly spiraling beyond his grasp. I stepped forward, gently guiding Lily behind me, her small body a shield against the sudden shift in the room's energy. "The renovation of your home," I replied, my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil churning within me, the one that was supposed to start right after New Year's. "I was planning to surprise you both for Christmas. A new kitchen, an expanded master suite, that sunroom you always dreamed about, plus a complete restoration of the historical features you so pride yourselves on." Each word was a carefully placed stone, building a bridge between their ignorance and the truth I was about to unveil. A truth that would expose the depth of their blindness and the extent of my quiet strength. My mother's face, which had been a mask of indignant anger, slowly drained of color, transforming from a fiery red to an ashen white. Her perfectly coiffed hair, her expensive dress, all seemed to lose their luster under the harsh glare of this unexpected revelation. You were paying for all that?" she stammered, the usual imperiousness in her voice replaced by a tremor of disbelief. "Every penny," I confirmed, my gaze unwavering, meeting hers directly. "My company, Phoenix Rising Construction, was going to handle the entire project, but since Lily isn't welcome here, neither is my money." A gasp rippled through the room. My sister Clara nearly dropped her own drink, her eyes wide with shock. "Your company?" she sputtered, the artificial brightness in her voice completely gone. "Since when do you have a company?" I couldn't help the bitter laugh that escaped my lips, a sound devoid of humor, laced instead with years of unspoken pain and quiet triumph. "Since 7 years ago," I began, my voice gaining strength with each word, "right after Lily's father abandoned us. While all of you were pretending we didn't exist, while you whispered behind my back and judged my choices, I was building something from nothing." I paused, letting the weight of my words sink in, letting them feel the sting of their past neglect. It started with cleaning houses, pushing Lily in a stroller while I worked, leaving her with a kind neighbor during my shifts. Then, during her naps, I learned basic carpentry from online videos, teaching myself the fundamentals of construction. I took night classes in construction management, juggling 3 jobs to make ends meet, fueled by nothing but the fierce determination to create a better life for my daughter. The uniformed man, who had been patiently waiting, cleared his throat again, a subtle reminder of the immediate task at hand. "Ma'am, I need your signature to confirm the cancellation. The lumberyard wants to know if they should release the materials to another project." "What lumberyard?" My brother, Michael, finally spoke, his voice strained, his carefully constructed indifference crumbling under the pressure of the moment. His eyes, for the first time that evening, met mine, a flicker of something akin to confusion, perhaps even regret, visible within their depths. "Sterling Timber," I replied, watching as a wave of shock washed over my family's faces. "Yes, the biggest supplier in the state. Turns out, when you pay your bills on time, treat people with respect, and build genuine relationships, they remember you. Mr. Sterling himself became my mentor. He's Lily's honorary grandfather now, shows up to every school play and soccer game, a constant presence in our lives, unlike some others." My mother, finding her voice again, though it was now laced with a desperate edge, scoffed. "This is ridiculous. You're lying. There's no way you could afford—" "The permits are already filed at City Hall," I interrupted, cutting her off mid-sentence, my voice firm and unwavering. "You can check Monday morning. A $1.2 million home improvement loan approved by First National Bank, though I was planning to pay cash to give you a debt-free retirement. Funny how banks love lending to successful business owners, isn't it?" Sarah, Michael's wife, clutched his arm, her face pale, her carefully constructed composure dissolving. "Michael, why didn't you tell them?" The room turned to stare at my brother, the weight of their collective gaze heavy upon him. He straightened his shoulders, a flicker of something fierce, something I hadn't seen in years, flashing in his eyes. "Tell them what?" he began, his voice low and dangerous. "That I've been visiting Kara and Lily every Sunday for the past 4 years? That I've watched my niece grow into an amazing kid, while our parents poisoned every family gathering with their hatred and judgment?" The air crackled with unspoken tension, a prelude to the storm that was now undeniably upon us, threatening to expose secrets far deeper than a canceled renovation. "You've been seeing them?" my father roared, his face contorted in a mask of disbelief and fury. "Behind our backs?" His voice echoed through the now silent room, a stark contrast to the festive carols that had been abruptly muted. The question hung heavy in the air, thick with accusation, yet it was a question that held no power over Michael. He stood his ground, his gaze steady, unwavering, meeting my father's anger with a quiet defiance I hadn't seen in him for years. "Behind your backs?" Michael countered, a bitter laugh escaping his lips, a sound that held a lifetime of suppressed resentment. "Like you went behind Kara's back to spread lies about her? Let me show you something." With a deliberate slowness that amplified the tension, he pulled out his phone, his fingers moving with a practiced ease. The The room held its breath, every eye fixed on Michael, anticipating the next revelation, the next crack in the carefully constructed facade of our family. He connected his phone to the smart TV, and suddenly, the large screen, which moments before had displayed cheerful holiday scenes, flickered to life, filling the room with the unmistakable sound of my parents' voices. It was a video, grainy but clear enough, showing them at some opulent country club function, drinks in hand, laughing boisterously with their friends. "Oh, we don't speak to our daughter anymore," my mother's recorded voice chirped cheerfully, her tone light and dismissive, as if discussing a minor inconvenience. "Got herself knocked up by some lowlife who ran off. We told her not to come crawling back to us for money. Standards matter, you know." My father's voice, equally jovial, chimed in, "Best decision we ever made. No telling what kind of influence she'd be on Michael. He's got a real future ahead of him, not like her." The video shifted, seamlessly transitioning to another event, another cruel conversation, another instance of them publicly disowning me and, by extension, Lily. Date stamps flashed across the screen, revealing a chilling timeline. These recordings spanned years, a systematic campaign of slander and emotional abuse. My parents, their faces now ashen, watched in horrified silence as their carefully curated image crumbled before their very eyes. The videos continued, a relentless barrage of their own words, trash-talking me to anyone who would listen, calling Lily names I wouldn't dare repeat, fabricating stories about offering help we'd supposedly rejected, when in reality, they had slammed the door in our faces. "You recorded us?" My mother's real voice was shrill now, a desperate, wounded cry. "Every single time," Michael confirmed, his voice devoid of emotion. A cold, hard truth, because I knew someday Kara would need proof. Proof of who you really are. The weight of his words settled over the room, a heavy blanket of undeniable truth. Lily, who'd been silently observing the unfolding drama, tugged gently on my sleeve, her small voice a whisper in my ear. I bent down, my heart aching for her, for the innocence that was being so brutally exposed. She was trying so hard to be brave, to understand the incomprehensible cruelty of her own grandparents. "Mr. Delivery driver," I said, straightening up, my voice clear and resolute, addressing the uniformed man who had stood patiently through the unfolding chaos. "Please confirm the cancellation. All of it. The construction, the landscape design, the interior decoration. And please let them know to cancel the Sterling account at Sterling Timber as well." My father, his composure completely shattered, stammered, "Our account? But we've had that account for 30 years. "Not anymore," I stated simply, the finality in my voice leaving no room for argument. "Mr. Sterling values loyalty. When he finds out how you've treated his honorary granddaughter, well, I suspect you'll need to drive 3 towns over for your timber needs." My phone buzzed, a frantic text from Sarah, my business partner, flashing across the screen. But before I could even glance at it, Michael dropped his biggest bombshell yet, a revelation that would shake the very foundations of our family. "Mom, Dad," he began, squaring his shoulders, his gaze sweeping across their stunned faces. "There's something else you should know." He paused, letting the words hang in the air, building an unbearable tension. "I've been documenting everything for another reason. I'm writing a book about family dysfunction and how golden child syndrome destroys families. My therapist thought it would be therapeutic." He looked at the shattered champagne glass on the floor, its pieces glittering like tears in the tree lights, a poignant symbol of the brokenness around us. Chapter 12 is about tonight. It was supposed to be about reconciliation. A bitter, humorless laugh escaped him. "Guess I'll need a different ending now." The silence that followed Michael's announcement was deafening, a vacuum where only the echoes of shattered expectations remained. Sarah, his wife, suddenly burst into tears, her carefully applied makeup streaming down her face, a visible manifestation of the years of suppressed pain. She pulled away from Michael, stumbling towards the center of the room, her red dress catching on the coffee table, a metaphor for the unraveling of their carefully constructed lives. "I can't do this anymore," she cried out, her voice raw with emotion. "I can't keep pretending everything is perfect when it's all built on lies." "Sarah, honey, what are you talking about?" Michael reached for her, but she spun away, her eyes wild with a newfound determination. "Don't you see? They've been controlling us too, making us dance to their tune, keep their secrets, maintain their perfect image. Her voice cracked, laden with years of silent suffering. But I know something that would shatter that image forever. My mother stepped forward, her face hard, her eyes narrowed. Sarah, you're hysterical. Michael, control your wife. Control her? Michael laughed bitterly, a sound full of contempt. Like you've controlled all of us? No, Mom. Let her speak. The stage was set, the audience captivated, and the next act promised to be even more explosive, revealing secrets that would redefine everything we thought we knew about our family. Sarah wiped her eyes, smearing mascara across her cheeks, but her gaze was now steady, filled with a fierce resolve. 5 years ago, she began, her voice trembling slightly, but gaining strength with each word. Michael was sick, really sick. The doctors wanted to test for a hereditary condition that runs in the Sterling family. So, we did a DNA test. The room seemed to hold its breath. Every single person, even little Lily beside me, stopped fidgeting, sensing the monumental weight of the words about to be spoken. The air crackled with an almost unbearable anticipation, a collective understanding that whatever was coming next would irrevocably alter the landscape of our family. Sarah looked directly at my parents, her eyes piercing through their carefully constructed facade. Michael isn't your biological son, she declared, the words dropping into the stunned silence like stones into a deep well. He's not a Sterling at all. My mother lunged forward, a guttural cry escaping her lips, but my father surprisingly caught her arm, his own face a mask of shock. That's impossible. You're lying. His voice, usually so authoritative, was now laced with a desperate plea, a desperate attempt to cling to a truth that was rapidly slipping away. The test results are in our safety deposit box, Michael said quietly, his voice calm, almost detached, as if recounting a distant memory, along with the letters from Mom's college boyfriend, the ones I found in the attic when we were helping with spring cleaning. David Morrison, star quarterback, married someone else right after graduation because his parents didn't approve of Mom's family background. The revelation hung in the air, a devastating blow to my mother's carefully cultivated image, exposing a secret she had guarded for decades. The silence that followed was thick with unspoken accusations, with the weight of a lifetime of deception. You went through my private things, my mother shrieked, her voice reaching a fever pitch, attempting to deflect from the bombshell that had just been dropped. The same way you went through mine when I was 16. Michael shot back, his voice rising, years of suppressed anger finally bubbling to the surface. When you read my diary and found out I was thinking about contacting Kara after Lily was born. When you threatened to disown me too if I ever acknowledged my sister or niece. Clara gasped from her corner, her hand flying to her mouth, the realization of the depth of her parents' manipulation dawning on her. They threatened you every day for a year, Michael confirmed, his voice now laced with a raw pain. Said they'd cut off my college fund, write me out of the will, tell everyone I was unstable. Dad even threatened to call my boss and say I was stealing from the company. The room reeled from the sheer audacity of their control, the insidious way they had woven a web of fear and intimidation around their own children. We were protecting you, my father insisted, his voice now devoid of its earlier authority, a hollow echo of his former self. From what? Michael challenged, his eyes blazing with a righteous fury. From knowing my sister is amazing? From watching my niece grow up? From understanding what real strength looks like? He pulled out a folder from behind the couch, a thick compilation of documents that seemed to materialize out of nowhere. I kept every threat, every manipulative text, every email where you tried to control me with money and fear. The folder, a tangible testament to their tyranny, was a powerful symbol of the years of emotional abuse Michael had endured. Lily, sensing the shift in the emotional landscape, suddenly spoke, her small voice cutting through the tension like a sharp knife. Mommy, why don't they like me? Every adult in the room turned to look at her, her innocent question a stark reminder of the collateral damage of their parents' cruelty. My heart shattered, seeing the confusion in her innocent eyes, the dawning realization of rejection. It's not about you, sweetheart, I said, kneeling beside her, pulling her close. Some people are just too scared to love freely. But I made them a present, Emma said, pulling a crumpled drawing from her pocket. "It's our family tree from school. I put everyone on it, even them." I unfolded the paper with trembling hands. There was our little family branch, just Lily and me. But she'd drawn lines connecting us to grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. She'd given everyone smiling faces and written "my family" in purple crayon at the top. The teacher said, "Family is people who love each other," Lily continued, her voice soft. I told her I love them even though I never met them properly. She said that was very grown-up of me. Sarah sobbed harder, a fresh wave of tears. She included us all, even though you've all been cowards. I finished, my voice firm. Except Michael. He found his courage. My phone buzzed again, Sarah's messages flashing frantically. My eyes widened as I read them, a new wave of realization washing over me. "That's interesting," I said slowly, my gaze drifting to Lily's tablet, the one I'd given her for educational videos. The screen was still on, a small red dot in the corner indicating it was recording. Sarah's been monitoring something online. "Monitoring what?" Clara asked nervously, her voice barely a whisper. "Lily, honey, is your tablet making a video?" She nodded proudly, her innocent eyes shining. "For my holiday showcase at school. I wanted to show everyone my first real Christmas with grandparents. Mrs. Anderson said to capture special moments." My blood ran cold. The implications of her innocent project were just beginning to unfold, promising an even greater public reckoning. "And is it just recording, or is it live?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper, a cold dread seeping into my bones. Lily beamed, completely oblivious to the gravity of my question, her innocent enthusiasm a stark contrast to the unfolding drama. "So my whole class can see. Mrs. Anderson is watching, and Principal Roberts, and all the other families. 300 people are watching right now." The words hit me like a physical blow, the implications crashing down with overwhelming force. 300 people. 300 witnesses to the raw, unfiltered cruelty of my parents, to the years of their emotional abuse, to the public shaming of my daughter. The room, already a powder keg of emotions, exploded into chaos. My mother, her face contorted in a desperate panic, lunged for the tablet, but Lily, quick as a flash, darted behind me, clutching her precious device. My father shouted about lawsuits, his voice hoarse with impotent rage. Clara frantically called someone on her phone, her composure completely gone. But above it all, I heard the distinct ping of text messages flooding in, a digital chorus of outrage. My phone, which I had almost forgotten in the maelstrom, buzzed incessantly. I glanced down, my eyes scanning the incoming messages. "Principal Roberts," I read aloud, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "Says he's deeply concerned about what he's witnessing. Wants to discuss my mother's continued employment at the district office. Apparently, someone who shows such discrimination toward children shouldn't be working in school administration." My mother's face went from a furious red to a mottled purple, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. "Turn it off! Turn it off now!" she shrieked, her voice cracking with desperation, the fear of public humiliation finally eclipsing her anger. "It's my project," Lily said stubbornly, her small voice surprisingly firm, her innocent conviction cutting through the chaos. "I'm supposed to share my family. This is my family. The real truth about my family." Her words, so simple and pure, were a powerful indictment of the lies and pretenses that had defined our family for so long. Sarah, Michael's wife, stepped forward, her tears now dry, replaced by a steely determination. "You want to know the whole truth, Lily?" she asked, her gaze fixed on my mother. "Your grandmother has been telling everyone at her work that she has the perfect family. She shows fake photos from years ago. She never mentions you or your mom. She pretends Michael and I have 3 kids instead of being unable to have children. She lives in a fantasy world." The weight of Sarah's words, the years of silent suffering and forced smiles, hung heavy in the air. "We've been trying for 8 years, Michael added softly, his voice thick with emotion. 8 years of treatments and disappointments. But Mom tells everyone we're being selfish, waiting for the perfect time. She'd rather lie than admit her perfect son isn't so perfect after all." Clara, who had been silently observing, finally spoke up from her corner, her voice raw with a newfound honesty. "And I'm getting divorced. Have been separated for 6 months, but I can't tell them because Mom threatened to blame me publicly. Say I drove Robert away with my career ambitions. So I pretend everything's fine while sleeping in a studio apartment and crying myself to sleep. My father barked, "Clara, this is family business." "What family?" Clara laughed bitterly, a sound devoid of humor, filled instead with a lifetime of resentment. "The one where we all pretend? Where we sacrifice truth for appearances? Where a 7-year-old child is called names for existing?" Lily looked up at me with wise eyes, her small face etched with a profound understanding. "Mommy, are they all sad because they have to lie?" Her question, so simple yet so profound, pierced through the layers of deception and pretense. "Yes, baby," I said, smoothing her hair, my heart aching for her innocent perception. "Lies make people very sad. Then why don't they just tell the truth?" The question hung in the air like a judgment, a beacon of pure, unadulterated honesty in a room suffocated by deceit. My phone rang again, the caller ID making my stomach drop. It was Mr. Sterling. "It's Mr. Sterling," I announced, my voice trembling slightly, probably calling about the lumberyard situation. But when I answered, his voice was gentle, filled with a warmth that cut through the coldness of the room. "Kara, honey, I'm watching Lily's live stream with my wife. We just want you to know you and Lily have a home with us this Christmas. A real home where everyone's welcome and loved." "Thank you, Mr. Sterling," I whispered, tears threatening to spill, overwhelmed by the unexpected kindness. "Also," he continued, his voice loud enough for the entire room to hear, "I'm calling an emergency meeting of the Timber Yard Board. We don't do business with people who abuse children. The Sterling account is suspended effective immediately, and I'm calling my friends at the other suppliers too." My father, in a desperate attempt to regain control, snatched the phone from my hand. "Mr. Sterling, this is Richard Sterling. There's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding." Mr. Sterling's voice was firm through the speaker. "I heard every word. So did 300 other people. You called that sweet little girl a terrible name. In my day, we had words for men who attacked children, and none of them were polite." He hung up. My father stared at the silent phone like it might bite him. Sarah's texts kept coming, screenshots of comments from the live stream, parents expressing outrage, teachers calling for action, business owners recognizing my company name and offering support. "The whole town is watching," I said quietly, my gaze sweeping across my parents' defeated faces. "Everyone you've lied to. Everyone you've tried to impress. They're all seeing who you really are. Wow. Just wow. If you've made it this far, you're not just watching a story. You're feeling it. You're connecting with the raw, messy, beautiful truth of what it means to be human, to fight for what's right, and to find your strength when you thought you had none left. This isn't just my story. It's a testament to the power of resilience, the courage to speak your truth, and the incredible, often unexpected ways that love finds its way into our lives. If this story has resonated with you, if it's stirred something deep inside, I invite you to become a part of this community. Hit that subscribe button, not just to see more stories, but to join a family that believes in authenticity, in kindness, and in building a world where everyone feels seen and valued. And please, in the comments below, share your own thoughts. Have you ever faced a moment where you had to stand up for yourself or someone you loved, even against overwhelming odds? What did you learn about family, about truth, about courage? Your stories are powerful, and they deserve to be heard. Let's create a space where every voice matters, where every experience enriches us all. Your insights, your experiences, they mean the world to me, and they help shape the future of this channel. What kind of stories would you love to hear next? Your suggestions are always welcome. My mother sank onto the plush velvet couch, her perfect posture finally breaking, her shoulders slumping in defeat. The carefully constructed image of the elegant matriarch, the pillar of the community, had shattered into 1,000 pieces, exposed for all to see. "This is all your fault," she hissed at me, her voice venomous, a desperate attempt to shift the blame, to cling to some semblance of control. "If you just stayed away," her words, meant to wound, instead ignited a fierce fire within me, a righteous anger that had been simmering for years. "If I'd stayed away," I countered, my voice strong and clear, "you'd still be living in your bubble of lies. Michael would still be your prisoner, bound by fear and manipulation. Clara would still be dying inside, sacrificing her truth for your approval. Sarah would still be keeping secrets that eat at her soul, pretending a perfect life that doesn't exist. The truth, raw and unvarnished, hung in the air, a heavy weight that pressed down on them all. Sometimes the truth has to hurt before it can heal. Lily tugged my sleeve again, her small voice cutting through the tension, a beacon of innocence in the storm. Mommy, the viewer count went up. It says 500 now. Is that good? I looked at my daughter, my brave, innocent Lily, who had inadvertently exposed decades of toxicity with her simple desire to share her family's truth. Her question, so pure and unburdened by the complexities of adult deceit, was a powerful reminder of why I was fighting. You know what, baby? I said, pulling her closer. I think it might be exactly what everyone needed. My phone exploded with notifications, Sarah's name flashing repeatedly across the screen as call after call came through. When I finally answered, her voice was breathless with panic, but also with something else, something I couldn't quite identify. A hint of exhilaration, perhaps? Kara, thank God I've been trying to reach you. The live stream is everywhere. It's not just Lily's school platform anymore. Someone shared it to the city's community social media page. The mayor's watching, Sarah continued, her voice a rapid-fire delivery of escalating news. The entire Chamber of Commerce is watching. 3 of our biggest clients are texting me right now. My knees felt weak, a sudden wave of dizziness washing over me. My business, everything I had built, brick by painstaking brick, was now exposed to the scrutiny of the entire city. Our clients, I whispered, the fear momentarily eclipsing everything else. Henderson Development, the ones we're building the new medical complex for? Ashfield Properties? Sarah paused dramatically, letting the tension build, before delivering the final, most shocking piece of information. And the City Planning Commission. They're all watching your parents call Lily that horrible name. They're watching everything unfold. Michael stepped closer, concern etched on his face. Kara, what's wrong? My business, I whispered, the fear momentarily eclipsing everything else. Everything I've built. No, Kara, listen to me. Sarah's voice crackled through the speaker, cutting through my despair. Henderson just texted. He said, and I quote, "Any woman who stands up for her child like that is exactly who we want building our healthcare facilities. Character matters." A wave of relief, so profound it almost buckled my knees, washed over me. He said that there's more. The mayor wants to meet with you Monday about the affordable housing project. Apparently his own daughter was a single mom who faced discrimination. He's been looking for a construction company that understands the importance of family-friendly housing. Kara, this might actually help us get the contract. My mother stood up abruptly, her face a mask of disbelief and fury. This is ridiculous. You're destroying our reputation for what? Money? Contracts? Reputation? I turned on her, my voice laced with a bitter irony. You mean the false one you've built? The one where you're the perfect grandparents to children who don't exist? Before she could respond, Lily's tablet chimed again, indicating more viewers. The comment section was scrolling so fast we couldn't read individual messages. Clara's phone was out now too, her eyes wide as she scrolled. You might want to see this, she said, her voice a strained whisper. The school district's official social media page just posted about conducting an investigation into discrimination by administrative staff. They're not naming names, but my mother's face went ashen, the realization of the impending professional ruin finally sinking in. They wouldn't dare. I've worked there for 20 years. 20 years of hiding who you really are, Sarah added, her voice coming through the phone. Just like you made us all hide. Her words were a powerful echo of the years of suppression and pretense. Kara, Sarah continued, her voice now filled with an almost triumphant excitement. There's something else. Remember the sustainable building grant we applied for last month? The one that would fund our training program for single mothers entering construction? The one we thought was a long shot? My heart pounded with a new, exhilarating hope. Senator Williams is in the live stream comments. She wrote, "This is exactly why we need programs supporting women entrepreneurs. Phoenix Rising Construction exemplifies the values we want to promote. And I think we might have just secured that grant." My father, in a last desperate act of defiance, grabbed for Lily's tablet, but she held on tight, her small body a surprisingly strong anchor. "Stop this immediately," he shouted, his voice hoarse with desperation. But the tide had turned, and the truth, once unleashed, could not be contained. It's my school project, Lily protested, her voice clear and defiant, her small hands clutching the tablet as if it were a shield. I'm showing my truth like Mrs. Anderson taught us. Your truth is destroying us, my father shouted, his face contorted in a mask of desperation, his carefully constructed world crumbling around him. Richard. Michael stepped between them, his body a protective barrier, his voice sharp with warning. You're scaring her. Back off. Don't you tell me what to do in my own home. You're not even my real son. The words hung in the air like poison, a cruel, desperate lash aimed at Michael, a final, brutal attempt to wound him. Michael's face went white, then a furious red, the pain and betrayal evident in his eyes. You're right, he said quietly, his voice laced with a bitter irony. I'm not your biological son, but I've been more of a son to you than biology required. I've kept your secrets, maintained your image, lived by your rules, and what did it get me? A life built on lies. Sarah's voice coming through my phone interrupted the escalating tension. Kara, I hate to add to the drama, but you need to know something. Her tone was urgent, a new note of alarm in her voice. 3 of our employees just texted. They're all single moms who face similar discrimination. They're saying, if you need character witnesses for anything, they're ready to speak up. A wave of warmth, of profound gratitude, washed over me. It was a testament to the community we had built, the support system that had grown organically from shared struggles. Also, Sarah continued, Mr. Sterling just posted in the comments that he's starting a fund for Lily's college education and invited other business owners to contribute. My eyes welled up with tears, a mixture of relief and overwhelming emotion. He did. The comments are incredible. People are sharing their own stories of family rejection, workplace discrimination. Your story is resonating with hundreds of people. My mother, seeing the tide turn irrevocably against her, tried one more time, a desperate plea. Please turn it off. We'll talk about this privately. We'll work something out. Like we worked things out 7 years ago? I asked, my voice cold, unforgiving. When you told me I was dead to you? When you said Lily would never be a real Sterling? When you chose your image over your daughter and granddaughter? The doorbell rang, a jarring sound that made everyone freeze, momentarily breaking the spell of the unfolding drama. Clara, closest to the door, peered through the peephole, her eyes wide with disbelief. There's a news van outside. Channel 8. Someone called through the door, their voice muffled but clear. We're covering the story of the live stream that's going viral. Can we speak with Kara Patterson? No comment, my father shouted, his voice a desperate, futile attempt to regain control, to push back against the relentless tide of public exposure. But Lily, my brave little girl, called out, her voice clear and strong, cutting through the chaos. My mommy built houses for families, good houses for people who need them. Lily! I tried to quiet her, but she was on a roll, her innocent words a powerful testament to my work, to my character. She works really hard and helps other mommies get jobs too. She's the best mommy, even though Grandma and Grandpa don't like us. Sarah laughed through the phone, a sound of genuine amusement and admiration. That kid is a natural spokesperson. Also, the Affordable Housing Coalition just shared the live stream with the comment, "This is why representation matters in construction." My phone buzzed with another call, the contact name making my blood freeze in my veins. Daniel Miller, Lily's father, the man who had walked out on us 7 years ago and never looked back. Sarah, I have to go. Daniel's calling. Daniel, after 7 years of absolute silence, he was calling now. I let it go to voicemail, but the damage was done. My hands were shaking as his name flashed on my screen again and again, a relentless reminder of a past I had fought so hard to bury. Who's Daniel? Clara asked, her voice laced with confusion. Lily's father, Michael answered, his voice tight with suppressed anger, when I couldn't find the words. The coward who abandoned them when Lily was born. The one Mom and Dad said was smart to run. Clara's voice was acidic, dripping with a newfound understanding of her parents' complicity. The one they called a hero for not being trapped by an unwanted pregnancy. Lily looked up at me, her innocent eyes filled with a dawning realization. Is that my daddy calling? Before I could answer, my mother's phone rang. She answered it eagerly, probably hoping for someone to save her from this nightmare. to offer a lifeline in the sea of her unraveling reputation. But her face changed as she listened, a strange mix of triumph and desperation. "Yes, Daniel. She's here." She held the phone out to me, a predatory gleam in her eyes. "It's for you. Lily's father wants to talk." The silence that followed was deafening. Everyone in the room staring at me, waiting. Lily's small hand found mine again, squeezing tight, her little body trembling. The stage was set for another confrontation, one that would force me to face the ghost of my past and expose the ultimate betrayal of my parents. "I don't want to talk to him," I whispered, my voice tight with a mixture of fear and revulsion. 7 years. 7 years of silence, of rebuilding, of healing. And now, in the most public and vulnerable moment of my life, he chose to reappear. My mother's smile widened, a predatory gleam in her eyes, a chilling reflection of her own twisted satisfaction. "He says it's urgent. Something about seeing the live stream and wanting to make things right." Her tone was saccharine, dripping with false concern, but the triumph gleaming in her eyes was unmistakable. "Isn't that wonderful? Lily might finally have a real father in her life." The room went silent, the Christmas music still playing softly in the background, a haunting melody to the unfolding drama. Everyone stared at me, waiting, their gazes a heavy weight on my shoulders. Lily's small hand found mine again, squeezing tight, her little body trembling, her innocent eyes searching mine for reassurance. "Put him on speaker," I said finally, my voice firm, cutting through the suffocating silence. "If he has something to say, everyone should hear it." My mother's smile widened even further as she hit the speaker button, a cruel satisfaction in her eyes. Daniel's smooth voice, a voice that had once promised to love me forever, now filled the room, a chilling echo of a painful past. "Kara, it's been too long. I saw the live stream. Is that really our daughter? She's beautiful. I think it's time we talked about my role in her life." His words were carefully chosen, designed to sound sincere, but a cold knot of dread tightened in my stomach. I knew Daniel. I knew his games. And I knew this was not about making amends. "Your role?" I kept my voice steady, betraying none of the turmoil churning within me. "You signed away your rights 7 years ago." He chuckled, the sound making my skin crawl, a familiar arrogance in his tone. "About that, I've been talking to your parents for a few months now. They helped me understand that I was young, scared, but I'm established now, successful. I think Lily deserves to know her father, don't you?" My blood turned to ice. "You've been talking to my parents. The pieces of the puzzle, the subtle manipulations, the sudden reappearance, all clicked into place with a sickening clarity. They reached out 6 months ago," Daniel continued, oblivious to the dawning horror on my face. "Said you were struggling, that Lily needed a father figure. They've been very helpful, very understanding about my past mistakes." I looked at my parents, seeing the truth in their guilty faces, the subtle shifts in their eyes, the way they avoided my gaze. They'd been planning this. While pretending I didn't exist, while publicly shaming me and Lily, they had been conspiring with the very man who had abandoned us, orchestrating this cruel charade. "Daniel," I said clearly, my voice ringing with a newfound resolve, "you made your choice 7 years ago. That choice is final." "Actually," his voice turned harder, the smooth facade cracking, revealing the manipulative core beneath. "I've been consulting with a lawyer. Turns out those papers I signed might not be as binding as you think, especially since I've been sending money to an account your parents set up for Lily. Shows parental intent, you see." "What account?" I demanded, my voice sharp, the betrayal a bitter taste in my mouth. My mother lifted her chin, a flicker of defiance returning to her eyes. "We set up a college fund for Lily. Daniel's been contributing monthly. We were going to surprise you. $500 a month for 2 years. Daniel confirmed, his voice now smug, confident in his legal maneuverings. "My lawyer says that shows I never truly abandoned my parental responsibilities. I'm flying in tomorrow. I think it's time Lily met her daddy." Lily pressed closer to me, her little body trembling, her innocent face etched with fear. The tablet in her hands continued recording everything, broadcasting this new betrayal to hundreds, now thousands, of viewers. "Oh," Daniel added, as if just remembering, "I saw your little company on the stream too. Quite impressive. I'm in commercial real estate now myself. Perhaps we should discuss a partnership. For Lily's sake, of course." The pieces clicked into place, forming a horrifying picture of calculated manipulation. The timing, the sudden interest, the monthly payments starting exactly when my company began making headlines in construction journals. "You don't want Lily," I said flatly, the truth cutting through his carefully constructed lies. "You want my money. Our daughter deserves the best," he replied smoothly, his voice devoid of genuine emotion. "A united family, a successful father. Think about what's best for her." Sarah's text flashed on my screen. "OMG, please tell me the stream is getting this. This is evidence of conspiracy and fraud." I looked around the room at my parents, who had orchestrated this ultimate betrayal, at my siblings, finally seeing the full extent of our parents' manipulation, at Lily, whose innocence was being bartered like a commodity. "Daniel," I said, my voice strong and clear, "Lily already has everything she needs. She doesn't need a father who sees her as a meal ticket, and she certainly doesn't need grandparents who would sell her out to the highest bidder. We'll see what the courts say about that," he threatened. "I'll see you tomorrow, Kara. All of you." He hung up, leaving a deafening silence in his wake, a silence that spoke volumes about the depth of their depravity. "Mommy, I don't want a daddy who doesn't love me. Is that okay?" Lily's young voice, cutting through the heavy silence, was a fragile plea, a question that tore at the very core of my being. I knelt down, pulling her into my arms, holding her tight, feeling the rapid beat of her small heart against mine. "That's more than okay, baby," I whispered, pressing a kiss to her hair. "That's very, very smart." The live stream comments were going wild. The viewer count had passed 1,000, then 2, then 3. And somewhere in that digital crowd, the truth was spreading like wildfire, a beacon of light piercing through the darkness of deceit. My parents had just revealed their ultimate betrayal on live video, and they had no idea what was coming next. The doorbell rang again, before anyone could fully process Daniel's threats, a sharp, insistent sound that promised another disruption. This time, my father, his face a mask of furious desperation, yanked it open, ready to chase away reporters, to silence the encroaching world. Instead, a man in an expensive charcoal suit stood there, briefcase in hand, his smile sharp as a blade. "Mr. Sterling," he began, his voice smooth and confident. "I'm Bradley Sterling, your nephew. I believe my client, Daniel Miller, just called. I'm here to serve papers and discuss Lily's custody arrangement. My cousin Bradley, the one who'd always resented that my parents paid for his law school while telling everyone he'd earned scholarships. He stepped inside without invitation, his eyes scanning the room until they landed on me, a flicker of something cold and calculating in their depths. "Hello, Kara. Long time." His smile never reached his eyes. "And this must be Lily. She looks just like her father." Lily shrank against me, her small voice firm. "I look like my mommy." "Bradley?" My father seemed utterly confused, his bluster momentarily deflated. "You're Daniel's lawyer, but you're family. Family who knows exactly how this family operates," Bradley replied smoothly, his gaze sweeping over my stunned parents. "Who better to navigate the Sterling dynamics than someone who's lived them?" He set his briefcase on the coffee table, pulling out a thick manila envelope. "Kara Patterson, you're being served. Mr. Miller is filing for shared custody of Lily Miller, recognition of paternal rights, and a reassessment of financial obligations given his 7 years of absence due to what we're terming temporary emotional distress." "Emotional distress?" Michael stepped forward, his voice incredulous. "He abandoned them." Bradley's smile widened, a chilling display of professional detachment. He was a young man overwhelmed by impending fatherhood, but he's shown consistent interest through financial support to the account Mr. and Mrs. Sterling established. $74,000 over 2 years demonstrates clear parental intent. "That money never reached us," I stated firmly, my voice unwavering. "I've never seen a penny." "The account exists," my mother interjected, her chin lifted in a desperate attempt at defiance. "We were managing it for Lily's future." "How thoughtful," Bradley said, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "And it certainly helps our case. Daniel has also been following Lily's progress through updates your parents provided. Photos, school reports, medical information." My stomach churned, a wave of nausea washing over me. They'd been sending him information about Lily, grandparents facilitating a relationship between father and child. Bradley confirmed. "Very touching. The judge will love it." Clara's phone was out, recording everything alongside Lily's ongoing live stream. "This is insane! You're actually facilitating parental kidnapping." "Such dramatic language," Bradley tisked, unperturbed. "Daniel simply wants to know his daughter. And given Kara's apparent financial success, it's only fair that support arrangements be reconsidered. After all, Lily deserves the best from both parents." "He wants money," Sarah said bluntly, her voice cutting through the legal jargon. "This is extortion." Bradley pulled out another document, his movements precise and practiced. "Mr. Miller is also prepared to file a civil suit regarding the construction business. He claims he provided emotional support and business guidance during the company's formation, making him entitled to a percentage of profits." "That's a lie." The words exploded from me, raw and unfiltered. "He was gone before Lily was born. He never provided anything but pain." "Do you have proof he wasn't involved? Phone records, emails?" Bradley's tone was conversational, but his eyes were calculating, searching for weakness. "Because we have sworn affidavits from Mr. and Mrs. Sterling stating they witnessed Daniel's continued interest and support. You're asking them to lie under oath." Michael looked horrified, the full extent of his parents' depravity finally sinking in. My father straightened his shoulders, a desperate attempt to regain some dignity. "It's not lying. Daniel did express interest. We kept him informed as any caring grandparents would." "Caring grandparents?" Clara laughed bitterly, a harsh, broken sound. "You just called Lily a bastard." "Heat of the moment," my mother said quickly, her voice a desperate plea for understanding. "We've always loved Lily. We just wanted what's best for her. A proper family structure." Lily's tablet chimed with notifications, the viewer count climbing past 2,000. Comments flooded in faster than anyone could read. Sarah texted frantically, "Do not sign anything. Lawyer en route." Bradley noticed the tablet, a flicker of annoyance crossing his face. "Is that recording? You should know that any recordings made without consent could be inadmissible in court." "It's my school project," Lily said in a small voice, her eyes wide and innocent. "About families." "How sweet." Bradley's tone was condescending, dismissive. "Though your mother should be careful about exploiting you for social media attention. Courts frown on that. That did it." Something inside me snapped into cold, clear focus. "Bradley, before you continue, there's something you should know. The game was about to change, and I was ready to play." "Bradley, before you continue, there's something you should know." My voice was calm, almost eerily so, a stark contrast to the chaos that had just erupted. The condescending smirk on his face faltered slightly, replaced by a flicker of uncertainty. I pulled out my phone, my fingers moving with a deliberate slowness, each tap a calculated move in this high-stakes game. "I've kept everything. Every text Daniel sent before he left, begging me to get an abortion. Every email where he called Lily a mistake. The photos of him with his girlfriend at the hospital the day Lily was born, posting on social media about dodging a bullet." Bradley's smile vanished completely, replaced by a strained attempt at composure. "Ancient history. People change." His words were hollow, lacking conviction, as if he were trying to convince himself more than me. "Do they?" I scrolled through my phone, a digital archive of Daniel's true character. What about his 3 marriages since then? All dissolved within a year. The restraining order from wife number 2. The fraud investigation in Arizona that mysteriously disappeared when he left the state. Each revelation was a nail in the coffin of his carefully constructed narrative, a testament to his consistent pattern of deceit and irresponsibility. "You've been stalking my client," Bradley accused, his voice rising, a desperate attempt to regain control. "No, Bradley," I replied, my voice steady, unwavering. "But when someone abandons your child, you make sure you know where they are, just in case they try something like this. I found what I was looking for, a final, devastating piece of evidence. Oh, and here's my favorite. The vasectomy he got 2 years after Lily was born because he never wanted to be trapped by another gold-digging." The room went silent. Even the Christmas music seemed to pause, the festive melody abruptly cut short. The air was thick with shock, the weight of the revelation pressing down on everyone. Maria, Michael's wife, suddenly stood up, walking to her purse in the corner, a new fire in her eyes. "You know what? I'm done being quiet." She pulled out a thick folder, its contents promising more explosive truths. "Bradley, you might want to see this before you continue." "What is that?" He tried to maintain his composure, but a tremor in his voice betrayed his growing unease. "Everything," Maria said simply, her gaze unwavering. "I've been working as a paralegal at Sterling & Associates for 5 years. Did you know we specialize in family law? Did you know Daniel Miller tried to hire us last year for another custody dispute in Nevada with another child he abandoned?" Bradley grabbed for the folder, but Maria held it back, a triumphant glint in her eyes. "There's more. Security footage from the hospital the night Lily was born. Daniel was there, Bradley. He came to the maternity ward. Want to know what he did?" "That's privileged information," Bradley warned, his voice now laced with desperation. "Not anymore," Maria smiled grimly. "See, Daniel never paid our retainer, so he was never actually our client. But he did leave quite an impression. Should I tell everyone what's on that security footage? Or would you like to withdraw your papers now?" Daniel himself chose that moment to call Bradley's phone, the timing almost comically perfect. Bradley answered, turning away from the group, but Daniel's raised voice was clearly audible, even if his words were not. "Yes, I'm at the house," Bradley said into the phone, his voice strained. "No, we have a problem. They have information." More shouting from Daniel's end. "The live stream is still going. Over 3,000, yes, 1,000. Bradley's voice cracked, his composure completely gone. "Maybe we should reconsider." The shouting intensified, Daniel's voice growing louder, more desperate. Bradley held the phone away from his ear, and Daniel's voice became audible to everyone in the room, and to the thousands watching the live stream. "I don't care what they have. That little brat is my meal ticket. Her mother's loaded now, and I want my cut. Those grandparents promised me." Bradley frantically tried to mute the call, but it was too late. Lily's tablet had captured every word, broadcasting Daniel's confession of fraud and manipulation to the entire internet. The comments section exploded with outrage, a torrent of digital fury. "Daniel!" Bradley hissed into the phone, his face flushed with humiliation. "Shut up! You're on speaker. The whole internet can hear you." Dead silence from Daniel's end. Then the line went dead. Bradley stood there, face flushed, papers still in his hand, his carefully constructed legal strategy in ruins. My client is understandably emotional. Your client just admitted to fraud on a live stream with 3,000 witnesses," I said calmly, my voice steady, a quiet triumph in my tone. "Would you like to continue serving those papers?" He looked around the room desperately. My parents had sunk onto the couch, faces gray with defeat. Michael stood protectively near Maria. Clara kept recording, her phone a silent witness. And Lily. Lily stepped forward, all 4 feet of her, and looked up at Bradley, her innocent eyes filled with a wisdom beyond her years. "My mommy says lying is wrong. You're helping someone lie. That makes you a bad lawyer." The truth, spoken by a child, was the most devastating blow of all. My phone buzzed with an incoming video call from my company's board of directors. My heart sank, seeing all 5 faces on the screen, their expressions serious. An emergency board meeting at 8 p.m. on Christmas Eve could only mean disaster. "Gentlemen," I answered, trying to keep my voice steady while Lily clung to my side. "I can explain." "No need," Chairman Roberts interrupted, his voice surprisingly gentle. "We've been watching the live stream. All of us. Our families, too." My stomach dropped. This was it. Everything I'd built was about to disappear because of one horrible family dinner. "We've called this emergency meeting to address some serious concerns," Roberts continued. "Specifically, the conspiracy we've uncovered involving your parents and Daniel Miller." "Conspiracy?" I echoed, my mind struggling to keep up. 3 months ago, your parents approached several board members privately, Board Member Harrison revealed. They claimed to be silent partners in your company, said they'd invested family money to help you start the business. They had documents. My blood ran cold. "What documents?" "Forged incorporation papers listing them as 40% stakeholders." Roberts pulled up a file on screen, displaying the damning evidence. Very convincing forgeries. They wanted us to support a motion to bring Daniel Miller on as CFO, claiming he had power of attorney over their shares. That's impossible. They never gave me a penny. The room spun around me, the depth of their betrayal almost unfathomable. "We know," Harrison said gently. "We did our due diligence. The forensic accountant found discrepancies immediately, but we wanted to see how far they'd take it. Board member Chen spoke up. We've been monitoring their activities. They've approached 6 of your major clients with the same story. They've been trying to orchestrate a hostile takeover from the inside. Michael grabbed a chair for support, his face pale with shock. Our parents tried to steal Kara's company? With Daniel Miller as their frontman, Roberts confirmed, his voice grave. The plan was simple. Establish false ownership, install Daniel in a position of power, then gradually push Kara out. They'd already drawn up profit distribution plans, giving themselves and Daniel 70% of your earnings. Lily looked up at me, confused. Grandma and Grandpa wanted to take your work? Appears so, sweetheart, I managed to say, my voice barely a whisper. But that's stealing, Lily protested. Stealing is wrong. Yes, it is, Roberts agreed, his expression softening as he looked at Lily through the screen. Which is why we contacted the FBI last month. Corporate fraud is a federal offense. As if on cue, the doorbell rang again, signaling the arrival of the final, undeniable truth.